guys, and welcome to the Genesis Designs and Modelcraft bench. I'm here to have a quick chat with you about the finished Zvezda 172nd C130H Hercules. Here she is, all finished, annoyingly large, doesn't fit in my photo booth properly. I can't really video the finished model properly without lots of clutter either side, so slightly zoomed in is what it will have to be. I apologise for that, but hey ho, work with what we've got, don't we? So this model, I've obviously built this as a C130K, which was the Royal Air Force version back when the aircraft was entered into the service of the UK. But the kit covers options all the way from the later C130A right up to the modern day C130H, and the C130H encompasses a lot of variants in and of itself as well. So do be careful when you're building any Hercules. Do try and find photos of the one you're actually building, because there are so many detail differences across the board. It's quite crazy. So what you get in the kit, as I say, enough parts to cover most things all the way from the later C130A up to the modern day H, but obviously in doing that, Zvezda give you a kit which it's impossible for it to be fully accurate to cover all of the versions unless they cover it version by version, and I can't see anybody doing that, honestly. So it's decent, and most of the sort of inaccuracies that you're going to get are things that are only going to be spotted by absolute turnips like me, so don't worry too much about it. As far as the build goes, it's an absolute pleasure. A really easy build, considering it isn't a small model, as you can see, and oftentimes these, larger models have their own issues, but the fit throughout this is really very good. I did use some filler, I'll show you where in a moment, but the first thing I'm going to do is just prove with the power of video that the wing really isn't glued on. There seems to be quite a lot of talk about this. The reason for it is quite obvious. It isn't a small model and I don't have room. If the wing was glued on, I'd just be hitting everything with it, so I left it off for painting, and then I left it off for finishing, and it's still off. And I plan this model will be going back to the hobby company for them to use on their display stands at various model shows, and I plan to build a transit box for the kit as it is here in two pieces. Okay, so let's look at the parts then. Here we have the wing. Yes, we've got the inboard fuel tanks here. These are included in the kit. You do not get the outboard fuel tanks that some aircraft carry, particularly like US Marines do have 4 tanks on them, a lot of them. Those tanks aren't included in the kit. You'll have to find those elsewhere. It's on point accuracy wise. The shape is there. The little gap where the flaps meet is there. It's got the fuel dump pipes at the end. The engines are the right length. Huzzah. They're the right cross section. They're not fat, dumpy little sausage finger engines like the Italeri ones are. They're good. It's worthy of note with the engines, these include full intake detail with compressor faces, the intake trunking itself, which is quite a convoluted shape, and even the gearbox drive shafts are all in there. Plus you get, no way you're going to see that on the video, but there's turbine faces in there, separate exhausts which fit correctly and just poke out the back of the nacelle like they should. Now yes, this is a very clean finish. Anybody who's been around a real Herc is going to be sitting there going, this is so clean. I'm sorry about that, it's out of my hands. I would have liked to have shown this in a more prototypical filthy dirty style, but deadlines were calling. The hobby company wanted their model finished, so I decided just to get it finished in a relatively clean look. These are dirty aircraft. These engines, the older engines, chuck out a lot of oil as well as a lot of soot. The hydraulics on Hercs seem to leak just for the fun of it, just to prove that they're there. So they are very dirty aircraft, and especially this one, built as 215 in Operation Desert Storm. On ops, the aircraft don't get washed on time, if at all. They do get absolutely filthy, so the sky's the limit with weathering on these things. If you want to build a dirty aircraft, this is it. So there's the wing. I did modify the refuelling pipework, the refuelling probe pipework. These were scabbed on by Marshall's Aerospace at the time of the Falklands campaign to allow the aircraft to get out to Ascension. So it is an external routing of the refuelling gallery. It joins onto the main aircraft gallery back here. I sawed through that at the wing joint to allow this to remain removable. It is in one piece, or should be in one piece. Here's the fuselage then. The other modifications I made to the kit, or to the instructions if you like, I fitted the longer of the two tail options supplied, because the photographs that I was looking at showed that these aircraft had the longer tail at the time that this representation was. I also cut down the ramp actuators to allow the ramp to be in the more level position you can see here rather than on the floor, and that's simply to avoid the option of it getting snapped through being repeatedly lifted up and put down. Detail down the back's pretty decent. Granted, you're not going to be able to see it in this video, but there's enough in there to keep people interested, and obviously all sorts of opportunity to add more, to add cargo loads and all the rest of it. I have this right hand side paratroop door in the open position, as you can see here, to allow a bit more light in and just to show that you can do it. And obviously the crew door is open on this one. So in terms of accuracy here, this is the first kit really that's got the fuselage shape right for the aircraft. The Hercules fuselage is not circular. It's not a squashed circle either. It's pretty much a circle on the top, and it's a different circle on the bottom, with quite a sharp join between the two. And this angle, this edge, is known as the chine. It's a nautical term, I know, but that's what we call it. This is the chine rail that comes along all the way down the fuselage, and that interacts with Flight Station 245, which is just after the crew door, and that's basically where the cargo bay floor joins to the fuselage. It's a very, very important structural member, and it's a very obvious feature of the real thing. Vesda have captured that really, really nicely, except it goes too far forward on this kit. I turned it over because the crew door complicates the issue there. The sharp edge of this chine should actually stop just here. This is where Flight Station 245 is, and that basically is the back of the flight deck area. The cargo bay floor starts here. So anybody who's building this, or is going to be, might want to think, take a file or a standing stick to this part, this forward section of this, and just blend it back into a circle, because that shouldn't be there. But that's a lot easier than trying to put it in the whole length of the model. At the back here, this other angle you can see here, I've always called this the hip, because when you look at the aircraft when you're standing on the ground, it has the appearance of a hip. Basically, the fuselage, the ceiling, the roof, or the top of the fuselage is straight, is flat all the way along, and the sides are parallel all the way along, apart from obviously where they taper in towards the tail, of course they do, but basically they're parallel. There's just a shifting cross section back here, which simply is there to allow the cargo door to retract up into the roof of the fuselage. If that shifting cross section wasn't there, this door wouldn't be able to be gotten up out of the way like that. That's why it's there. No other kit has replicated that properly at all. They mostly just, they flare out, they've got a mushy kind of bend on them, they're rubbish. This one, spot on. You can see it there. I've managed to catch the light with it. This corner here that I'm talking about. Modifications that the modeller might like to make. The control surfaces at the back here, in fact all the control surfaces, are moulded in, and they're moulded in the neutral position. You'll never see a Hercules with neutral control surfaces on the tail unless the control surface gags are fitted, and that's because the elevators are heavy and they will droop under their own weight when the hydraulic system isn't powered up, and in fact even when it is. And the rudder likewise There's nothing stopping that from moving apart from its sheer size. But you can push it with your hand if you're standing next to it. But what happens is when the aircraft is parked, the prevailing breeze will hit this, what is a huge control surface, and it will push it one way or the other depending which way the breeze is going. So a good modification, anybody that's building this, would be to separate these control surfaces and deflect them. The wheels and tyres, the wheels are very, very good on this. The best wheels I've seen in a kit yet by a long way. The tyres are not so good. The nose wheels aren't too bad, but the mains are very square and they don't have any tread detail on them at all, and they really need that. The tyres we use on the Royal Air Force birds are not square, and they very much do have tread. I can literally stick my fingers into the tread, that's how big they are. So the tyres really do need to have some tread detail to look authentic, really. Flight deck is really, really good. The windows have got that, they're flat panes of sandwich glass on the real thing, and the kit represents, I'm trying to get it to catch the light, there you go. The kit represents that really well. And again, there you go, that is a first. All the other kits have got these weird rounded windows and they make the aircraft model look quite clown-like. Radom's also a good shape, and you get 3 options there with different lightning conductors, lightning strike stuff on them. I fitted the plain one, that's what these aircraft actually had. So there you go. It's a really, really easy build. There's enough detail to satisfy any out of the box builder. Super detailed builders will want to add more, but this is essentially a worthy canvas for that, which is much more than you can say about any of the previous kits. We had the old Airfix kit, the Italeri kit and the Esky kit. They all had their good points, but none of them had enough good points to be a good representation out of the box, frankly. And the work involved to make them look anything like was off-putting. So as I say, this one, it's there, it's good enough to be getting on with. This is completely out of the box apart from the changes I've just mentioned. I've not thinned anything, I've not hollowed anything, I've not changed anything apart from the points that I've shown you. In terms of filler, obviously I used a little along the joint lines, that's inevitable. The only place that needed filler as filler was here, where the sponson additions were fed in. It did need a little bit of work underneath here, but being underneath of a very large model, maybe some might not bother with that. Excuse me. Okay, so there we go. I think the kit represents fantastic value for money, really. Retail price here in the UK is around £45. You can pick it up for less already, and no doubt that will continue to be the case. It represents extraordinary value when you think about it, for a model of this size. And if Airfix had kitted this, or Italeri, or really anybody, I think you wouldn't have gotten this kit for less than about £70, I would say. It is quite a decent size, as you can see. You've seen I don't have the biggest hands, but you can see it's a decent sized aircraft. So I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm so happy, after having served for 16 years on the Royal Air Force C-130 fleet, although I only worked on the J, not this older version. I'm just absolutely thrilled to have a kit that I can finally work with to build a decent replica of some of the aircraft that I worked on, that I flew on, that I went to war with. So I'm chuffed as anything. I've already bought, with my own money, 2 more of these, and I'm really, really, really looking forward to the next release in this series, which is set to be the stretched fuselage C-130J next year. Cannot wait for that. So for now, I'll love and leave you. This is my Zvezda Hercules from the box. Ultimately way too clean, but here you go. This is what you get when you just build it. No frills, no messing. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you've gotten something from this. Any questions, comments, queries, whatever, put them on the video, pop across to my Facebook page. I will always interact with you and answer your questions, should I be able to. But for now, that's it, and I'll see you on the next one. So, Genesis out.